Welcome back, fellow armchair generals. This is Gamer 1745 here with my continuing playthrough of Hearts of Iron 3 with Black Ice 8.52. Well, let's continue on here. Been having thoughts and some input, mostly from Herman, thinking we should either invade, I guess he thought here, I think, or just generally up here, or come in and help the Poles. The Poles are a lost cause, in my opinion. At least particularly putting troops into Poland. Another suggestion was brought up on trying to defend here from German invasion. That's an interesting idea. I'm still contemplating it. Okay, well, straight up, here's what I'm worried about is one, obviously I can't put any troops into Denmark until they join the Allies, and then would we have time to be able to get in there and effectively do it? Two, since we're at peace, let's put right up here. Patrol. I also don't need this patrol anymore, so I'm back to jib. As I think we'll see, if we were to try to invade in Germany, it would be a disaster. But we will take a quick look. As you can see here, I don't think we would have a chance at holding anything if we were to even try. I'm sure we could do it with a big enough fleet to defeat other fleet-ass units here, but well, we'd need a big fleet. I don't know how successful we would be. Well, I think we'd be very unsuccessful, I guess is what would be the Prince of Wales. Yeah, let's go with home fleet here. Home fleet, there we go. Excuse me. Now, one thought also is, of course, try to hold out in the rivers here. That has some merit to it. And it's making me rethink a little bit the idea of bringing the Netherlands into the Allies, so let's put the British forces there instead of in France. Alright, armor unit training. We'll let that continue for the moment. Okay, more for the home fleet. Okay, we've got 3 good armored divisions building now. And we've got another light division ready to get in there. Now let's build some infantry divisions. Let's build them... Okay. That's almost nothing in the way of cost increase. I think that's worthy. Let's add anti-tanks so we can stand up against the German. Excuse me. German armor a bit. There we go. These will be useful, but they're, I don't think, critical at the moment. So we're going to definitely keep them in the production queue there, but... Now that these guys are getting out, it'll be able to put us a lot more resources into building the army up. Home fleet, at least for the moment. And also let's add in the Parrot fighters. There we go. And let's see, small caliber guns. That now opens up better medium tanks as well as light. Now the air show needs 100 planes, so I don't know that we're going to make that. Excuse me again, got the cough for some reason. So when I see that big stack up in Emden there of units, something motorized there. The nationalists are all worried about a French invasion, though there's little or no opposition there. Okay, let me just pause this for... Okay, I'm back. Just coughing a bit, so... let's see. Okay, recon unit combined arms advance. That's very good, very helpful. Recon unit combined arms. We will pause that for the moment. Check these other... all pre-40s are being done there. These... let's improve our light armor. Okay, HMS King George V is how you would normally say that. I'm pretty sure, yeah, I was one of the ones involved in the sinking of the Bismarck, one of the ships, not, it was the Swordfish torpedo bombers came in and attacked it and jammed the rudder so it could only go in circles. And out about here somewhere. And King George V, and just keep remembering his name on that. One or two other came in and opened fire and took them down, overwhelmed them. Bismarck. Trying to think anything else. I don't know if I remember anything else about that. Okay, well, let's see. We can reduce that, and we're going to try to get reinforcements up there a bit better. No. Come on. Just keep it in the green. And the HOW has been launched. Okay. We're going to do that again. Heavy AA guns. Well, we'll do that. And the Duke of York as well. We've launched that. All up to home fleet. Oh, and the Prince of Wales. Prince of Wales is the one that was, or one of the two, I think. What, Prince of Wales and Renowned, I think, was sunk out here by the Japanese air. They were operating without integrated air cover as just a pair of ships. At least that was the only two capital ships taken out. Okay, more. Operation Ultra. Ultra was the name used by the British for intelligence resulting from the decryption of encrypted German radio communications in World War II. The term eventually became standard designation for all intelligence from high-level crypto-analytic sources. Name arose because of the code breaking was considered the most important, or more important than the highest security classification available at the time, most secret. Ultra secret. Okay. Let's see, we would gain attack. Presumably something about encryption. This is enough. No, we will... till February. Okay. We'll get the Bletchley Park event. Yes, I guess we will do that. A lot of ICs, but oh well. And requisition of Bletchley Park. So radar station level 4 in Bletchley. That is here. Okay, good. Well, that all those ICs pay for some radar stations. Great. That will help us with our air war for sure. We already have that there. Infantry unit. Okay, we will let that continue. Okay, and HQs. Airborne units. Well, let's go with armored. Nice 1911 there. 45 ACP. Gun designed by John Moses Browning. I'm just going to be lazy and put them in home fleet for the moment. Yeah. Probably should build a few airborne units. Right now we'll stop that. Okay, we gotta wait for that to get more for that. Tank radios. I know we're a little in the red, but not by much. Don't think by much. Yeah, by just one tech. I just don't want to get like 6 or 8 techs in the red, so I know what I'm researching and I know what I'm not. I'm not like having a bunch of things just sort of waiting to be done. I guess that would be alright if we were needing to play at high speed or something. Yeah, landing craft. Great, great. We needed that. I just don't like the whole idea of not having the ability to do naval invasions. I think we'll let that continue as well. I'd hate to have my whole army fall, or my whole ability to do naval invasion fall apart if I just, for the loss of two vessels. Obviously they're not being escorted at the moment. Okay, this is important. Yeah, I will send them back to Britain. We may need to invade Norway or something. Okay, Germany, they've decided the Ribbentrop, or Molotov-Ribbentrop Pact, or you could say it either way. That's where you get the word Molotov cocktail. It was named after the foreign minister of the Soviet Union. Basically is a cocktail to throw at Molotov, if I understand the reference correctly, as a resistance to them. You know, the idea of taking a bottle, put some generally gasoline, though obviously it could be alcohol, but whatever burnable liquid, a jar of gasoline in it, put a piece of cloth in there, and when you're ready, light it and throw it. Very good for dealing with for an improvised thing. Rather, don't know how deadly, but debilitating. It definitely is. Obviously, you can kill somebody with it. Not to say you won't, but it's something that, especially in built-up city areas, it can be very, very useful. Okay, non-aggression pact. Some of it was public, some of it, especially dividing up the spheres of influence. Basically, if I understand this, Finland, Latvia, and Estonia were going to be under Soviet influence. Lithuania and Danzig were going to be under German influence. There was going to be basically sort of three areas for Poland. So dividing up between them, it ended up Germany got more than they originally requested, so they sort of swapped that for Lithuania, giving it over to the Soviets later on. The pact broke the Anti-Comintern Pact. To my understanding, the Anti-Comintern Pact continued to function, even though it was broken by Germany. At this time, you start seeing, particularly like I know in France, a lot of the communist party elements there coming out and pro-Nazi. They were straight up pro-Nazi because their Soviet masters told them to be so. Whether they believed that was the right, correct future, or just the expediencies of the day. So a lot of the leftist organizations started saying nice things after this pact about the Nazis, particularly once the war started. That is one of the reasons, not the only reason, but one of the reasons the early occupations in France went fairly well, because until Germany invaded the Soviet Union, all of the they were suppressed in places like France and Belgium and the Netherlands, but all the leftist parties were told not to resist German occupation. They were told to cooperate with the Germans. That is one of the reasons the prime resistance element, particularly within France, was not a communist organization. There was a communist resistance. If you played my Allo mod, it's alright. It's sort of a goofy little mod taken from the series, but in the series and that, they sort of show that there's a difference between the communist resistance and the French resistance within France. And so, so when it started out, the French resistance was organizing themselves up, not trying to cause any trouble because, hey, we got to get organized. We don't know, really what we're doing, and that's why they took almost, quite a while to get things organized. Plus the Vichy, if the French leadership element was seen too much to be committing continued acts of war, that would be a reason for Germany to occupy all of France. There's also that element to it. And so there's not a single cause, one thing. There are multiple things here going on. What happens in 1941 after the invasion of the Soviet Union, they set up a second anti-Comintern pact, and this is, like I say, it sort of continued to operate, particularly from the German side, but it was officially broken, so they had to sign a new one, and the new one included, at that time, officially, Denmark joined the anti-Comintern pact. It wasn't the Danish government in exile, it was the Danish legitimate government, and Turkey joined the anti-Comintern pact at that time. Denmark did send troops to fight in the Soviet Union, though they were they were, to the best of my understanding, and I don't know all the details, the Danish army continued to exist and operate after the German invasion, but basically they were disarmed. The first Danish volunteers to go to fight the Soviets were all active, basically Danish soldiers. They were originally told that they were going to get to wear their Danish uniforms and serve as a battalion or whatever sized unit of volunteers fighting the Great Crusade against Bolshevism. But before they ever got to the front, they were incorporated into the SS and wore SS uniforms. So that didn't last very long. The later volunteers to go in, I think, were much more ideologically National Socialists from Denmark. The first bunch, I think that they were a combination of frustrated Danish soldiers and Danish soldiers that also feared the spread of Bolshevism, and sort of like some of the Vichy type elements was, fight the good fight against the enemy, prove that you're not a threat to Germany, and maybe Germany will allow you to be independent once it's all over with. Fat chance, but that's what I think some of them were thinking. The later group, they knew they were joining the SS. It was signs to join the SS, and a lot of them were coming from the ideological SS elements. Because when I say, you got to realize there's other right-wing type elements. There's monarchist elements, there's capitalist elements, traditionalist elements. Because there were a lot of religious people that thought enforced atheism was wrong, just on that, just on the religious freedom aspect of it, and wanted to fight the Soviets. So there's a lot of reasons for people to want to fight the Soviets. So this is why you can raise volunteers to do so from places like Sweden or Switzerland. They did do some of that. But as my research has shown, particularly so I've looked into it a little bit more in Norway, there was a very significant local SS organization that would recruit locals to be in the local SS, Norwegian SS, Norge SS. But then that pool of people, especially because they were relatively healthy young men, but especially the better of them, they would recruit from them to go fight in the Waffen SS and the Nordland or whatever, Viking or other sort of Waffen SS divisions, so that the local SS organizations wouldn't grow very big because they were constantly siphoning off the manpower for combat replacements or just simply increase the size of the force. So it wasn't necessarily all the Norwegians were dying off. It was just you were recruited into the organization. There was a lot of pressure. Come on and join the fight, kind of thing. And so that they were going off. So they never got very big, heavy on the streets for partisan suppression in Norway, if you will. So where you find much more of the situation of the Eastern peoples in the Waffen-SS. Well, I know this is about Britain, but we're talking about German Soviet here. Much more of the traditionalist alignments, not that everybody joining the Waffen-SS units or whatever were people that believed in National Socialism as expressed by Germany. They were, like I say, religious folk or traditionalists or just people because of their what was done to their family members hated the Bolsheviks that were joining up to fight, and may have been also anti-Nazi, but they weren't so anti-Nazi as to want to kill the Nazis. They wanted to kill the Soviets. So this, because of all of particularly Hitler's rhetoric, shocked the world. Maybe not, maybe overstating a bit, but it surprised the world that they came up with this wide-ranging non-aggression pact. And I think at the time, it was, let's see, where are these guys at? Yeah, there we go. I don't know how well known, but figured that it did divide up spheres of influence without maybe, I don't think they knew it was a, doomed to Poland pact, but it was definitely something that if the Soviets and the Germans were going to be non-aggression pact, somebody got some of our blueprints, but there was also going on in the news, all of the Danzig corridor, Danzig is German stuff. So they knew, the man on the street who paid attention and the people in government. Germany's doing a lousy job shipping over. We'll see how this goes. I'm sure Germany will win, but I'm just doing a lousy job reinforcing East Prussia. The governmental people, as well as, like I say, man on the street, knew the tensions were rising with Poland, and if Germany was worried about clashes with the Soviets, that sort of Poland's theoretical defense would be Soviet intervention to stop German expansionism. Presumably once it was stopped, Soviets would have to leave. That was maybe the presumption by a lot of people. But once you had that pact, whether it cynically divided up Poland or whether it just simply allowed, man, it's still a big stack, simply allowed Germany to operate in Poland without interference. I don't know who knew what and how when elements of the pact were leaked, but it was definitely something that showed the world that Germany may be able to get a free hand in Poland, kind of thing, at least. So that was well figured out. Oh, now we're at artillery. Okay, everything is still before 1940. And no longer. Okay, well, whatever. Uruguay. Like I think I've said in the past, I think we can make a reasonable case. If Poland was trying to arm itself up, they made some missteps. Their light machine gun was the Browning automatic rifle, the BAR. With some minor changes. I think the initial copies were made in Belgium. Later, they had started production in Poland. Because of contract negotiations and other elements, Belgium did not, because of the problems with Belgium, Poland wanted to also make a general machine gun, and so they settled on the Browning 1919 machine gun, what we normally think is the 30 caliber, and we're starting to put that into production, or had it in production, but they just did it unlicensed. They changed it a bit, and just because of contract negotiation, just needed it out there. So they were doing the Browning gun in the German caliber from World War I and World War II, the 7.92, and they used a version of the Mauser rifle made locally. So they were trying to arm themselves up. Okay, officer recruitment program. Yeah, puts that one too far out ahead, so we'll stop that. And aircraft carrier engines. Okay, we'll improve the hangar. Okay, we should consider expanding commands of the Royal Air Force. We're recommending Form E. Okay, let's go for this. That, I believe, is going to be a bomber type command. Come on, scroll down, go through fast. Air units, no. Okay, we're in London here. Well, let's head up to one of these groups and attach it. Okay. So as I was saying, Poland was really trying to arm itself up, particularly by this time. Uh-oh. We gotta stop this. We're going to war here. So they were developing a reasonably, for an interwar period tank, what is it? 7TP? The PT, I forget. So those are the three letters in it. I'm a little mixed up which ones they are. A decent little 37mm gun arm tank. They were doing all that stuff. I think if there wasn't a Soviet threat, they weren't having to, do all this kind of stuff and move all their forces, and did it smartly, not as we're getting into the war. I know, and people want me to keep game moving while I talk, but got a lot to deal with here real quickly, game-wise. So, but I want to go over my analysis. If you're doing a forward defense, trying to hold some of these forward areas that are reasonably important for industry, Germany's going to be able to surround you and take you. If you were to try to just sort of forward up and around your capital, you're going to be besieged. You won't be able to train and replace manpower. You won't be able to get food in. That kind of thing. So you've got to hold a broader front. So had you been able to form a front, right along here to here, and try to hold, why they, you're going to have to worry about Slovakia, but do sort of a crescent-shaped defense there. That, along with a vigorous French offense on the other side, maybe through Belgium, but realize that the West Wall had defenses up and along here. Unlike, unlike what's normally shown for the game, it's just along the French. They had built the Sars Aachen. It was named after the regions that the later parts of it, Aachen, which was, if I'm pronouncing it reasonably correctly, and the Sars section down here, that they had increased. The earlier, which unlike here, partially because of the stupid AI, the earlier elements of the West Wall were, I don't know whether it was the Moselle here or somewhere along here, they had built the defensive and left part of the Sars industrial area on the far side of it undefended, partially I think just because they thought they were going to lose it anyways, and it was a better defensive position, but they later brought it forward to protect that, and realized that they very well may be facing attacks through Belgium, so they went up and defended the Aachen region as well up along here. So if Germany had faced a vigorous offense without, again, I'm going to saying without, or with, shall we say, early on Russian guarantees. Now, of course, you don't know how well you can trust it, but if you really think Germany's going to invade and Russia promises you not, and there is no Molotov-Ribbentrop Pact, of course, then maybe Poland could have held out, but with the Soviets actively invading, and they waited until the big noise was happening with Germany's invasion, and they tried to play it off as simple occupation to keep the Germans from occupying the other parts of Poland, but it was an active invasion. So I'm going to save the start of the war for the next episode. A nice episode, title, "The War Starts" or whatever. Will be, obviously it's happened now, but we will be doing the relevant, click the buttons, change the laws, start reacting to it next episode. Thanks for watching. Thanks for liking the videos. Please post your comments and any added history details you can. Love hearing from you. See you next time.